Okay, hello and welcome. Chris here, Tea Titan, and in this video I'm going to run through some of the best-selling TeeSpring campaigns of all time. And this is really exciting stuff. Basically what happened was I had my virtual assistant visit TeeView, which is a site where you can go and basically, see a lot of the top-selling TeeSpring campaigns. My VA basically went through all of the top sellers down to I think the ones that had sold like 500, and basically categorize them all by key data points that I wanted to highlight. So this is kind of the CSV, and you can see that the best seller that we found was this one that was dedicated to a firefighter who was in the Granite Mountain Hotshots crew. This is the URL. You can see it sold a staggering 27,000 units, even though the goal was only 75. The style was a Hanes tagless tee. The price was $20. There were three styles to choose from, so maybe it was like a Hanes tagless and then a Hanes hoodie and then like a tank top, for example. The default color was black, so the default style was a black Hanes tagless tee. There was only one color choice. The description you can see we've got here. Was there a link on the page? Yes, there was. Was there an image? How many likes did the page have? And we've basically done this for, you can just see there are tons and tons and tons. So, you know, that was the first thing that we did. The second thing that we did is that we then took this and we basically broke it down into graph form. So, if we plot sales versus colors, what do we see? If we plot goals versus style, all kinds of graphs. And the information that I'm about to give you now are my conclusions based on statistical fact. I'm going to show you some of the graphs, and this is information that no one has. Obviously, TeeSpring have got the data, and they've probably got better data because they'll be able to see campaigns, even ones that are hidden. But no one else that I've seen online has got access to this data, so it's really exciting stuff. And part of the reason it's so exciting is that these T-shirts have sold probably, I've not worked the total number out, but somewhere between $5 and $6 million, and are responsible for over 400,000 sales. So as you can imagine, the data that I'm about to show you is just absolutely mind-blowing. So I created all these different graphs and patterns. Sometimes there was correlation, sometimes there wasn't correlation. I'm obviously not a professional statistician, but I've got a pretty good idea of how to read data, and so what follows are basically my conclusions and thoughts along with the actual data itself. Now this is largely pretty much what you'll find in Tea Titan. Tea Titan's proven to work, and so there's not going to be a ton of surprises, but I think it's just really useful to look at some of these data points and see what actually comes up. So the key points that I learned from looking at this data, well, the first thing is that the Hanes tagless tee is the safest option. So if you were thinking about launching, a canvas tee or a woman's tee or a hoodie, think again, because the Hanes tagless tee is by far the most popular choice. Likewise, around $20 is the pricing sweet spot. So, if you go way above 20, so you start getting up to the high 20s, or you go way below 20, think again about that, because around $20 is the best price. Now, there might be a little bit of wiggle room there, which I'll come on to later, but it kind of backs up what we were saying, that you want to kind of keep it around that $20 mark. The number of styles really doesn't matter all that much. Really, what we want to do is to do a t-shirt only, or possibly a t-shirt and hoodie, or possibly a t-shirt and hoodie and a tank top, or t-shirt and hoodie and a woman's tee. But the number of styles doesn't make a huge amount of difference, as I'll come on to. Likewise, the number of colours is one thing that we looked at, and we found that that did actually make quite a big difference. And the conclusion is you only want one colour per design. Okay, so if you're thinking of giving people the option to choose black or red or navy and all these different colours, once more think again, because it seems that only having one colour is the best option. And then finally, perhaps most categorically of all, black is by far the best colour. And this is something that Teespring have said themselves. I've seen them mention it themselves, but a lot of this other data I haven't seen them go through. And by the way, you'll notice that sometimes I spell colour with a U, sometimes I spell it without the U. I'm obviously from the UK, from Britain, we spell it with a U. I know that in North America it's spelled without, and so you'll kind of see me do it both ways. Before we dive into the data, just remember a few things. Firstly, this is only the top 1%, or maybe even the top 0.1% of campaigns. So we're talking like 300 or 400 out of probably well over 100,000 Teespring campaigns that have been launched. And so even though it's the best campaigns, the best data that we can get access to, and so it's very useful, it is still a relatively small sample size. Also, bear in mind that these are not all pro Teespring marketers. Many of these guys are, individuals or companies who are using Teespring for the first time, and so are running these campaigns for a particular fundraising, a situation rather than to do it as professional Teespring marketers. And for that reason, they will, of course, make mistakes. They don't have access to the same systems and the same software and the same knowledge that we do. Also be aware that some of these guys have got leverage, so it's not that they're starting off cold. Some of them have got fan pages, they have websites, and also some of them are donations. So in other words, the reason that it is selling may well be in spite of the fact that they're doing all of this stuff and not because of. So if you've got a fundraising campaign for, a firefighter who's valiantly fought a fire and has lost his life in the process, it stands to reason that it's going to do very well in order to raise money for his family, and that might not be because of the colour that the company's chosen or the group has chosen, but rather because of the actual cause itself. It might not even be because of the design, but just because people want to support the cause. So do bear these points in mind. And that being said, I mean, we are talking 400,000 sales worth of data, which is pretty crazy. So, the information I'm about to give you is, I think, very, very useful indeed. So first things first, what colour do we choose for our clothing? In other words, what's the common default colour amongst bestsellers? And just to explain what I mean by this, I basically mean the colour of the default t-shirt. So when we first choose our colour on Teespring, do we go with red? Do we go with yellow? Do we go with, which colour do we go for our first default colour, which is the one that people see? Well, statistically, we saw that black was responsible for more than 56% of the bestseller sales, navy 10%, pink 7%, 4%, red percent. So black is by far and away the best colour, and it's something that Teespring have confirmed themselves. And that's basically one of the reasons that I recommend black or black tea plus white design, or possibly also black tea plus white plus maybe a splash of another colour. So black plus white plus maybe one or two other colours, but really it's kind of a black tea with a mostly white design because that's what stands out. In terms of the reason for that, I guess that black kind of looks flattering with every size. So maybe if you're a larger person, you'll want to wear black. Maybe black's just kind of cool. I'm not entirely sure, but no matter what the reason is, black sells more than every other color combined. So this is the graph, and I know it's not the prettiest graph in the world, but essentially the key points are the ones I've put here. Black is 56%, navy is 10%, pink is 7%, and red is 4%, and then the remainder is split amongst all the other colors. So you can see this is black. Okay, so 56% of our top sellers here have a color, a default color of black. So if you just look down here, you can just see black, 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 black. It's just tons and tons of blacks all the way down. So the first conclusion, I guess, is that we want to focus on black as our default color. So let me just click that there. We want to, oh, there we go, there's black. We want to make black our default color, okay? The next question is, how many color choices do we give the customer? Do we give them one color choice? In other words, you have to get it in black, there are no other colors, or do we give them multiple color choices? In other words, when we are on this page here and we've chosen our initial design, do we then add other designs here? So do we go and add another t-shirt and do it in blue, add another one and do it in red, and add another one and do it in yellow, or do we just provide this one color? Well, again, the data is very, very clear. 66% of designs have just got one color and no other color options. So if we just look at the data, you'll see how many color choices do do these bestsellers provide people with? Well, the answer is predominantly 66% is just one. So you can see that there's 2 is 13%, 3 is 8, 4 is 6%, but almost all of the top sellers only provide one color choice, which is black, basically. So you can see here total color choice is 1, 1, 1. It's mostly 1 all of the way down. And I suppose the reason for that is that too many colours can be seen as overwhelming. So I guess it kind of changes the design. So if we just go over to our open campaign here and we start to play around with the colours, you can see that it changes the feel of the design as well as changing the actual the physical background as well. It also kind of changes the way that the colors play into one another, and my best guess would be that it creates some kind of decision paralysis, which is generally a bad thing that we want to avoid as marketers. We want to give people one very clear choice, which is kind of buy, and we don't really want to give them too many options, especially I think when it's related to design, which is something that is kind of tied in with the design, which is color, which is kind of tied in with the design. So basically pick one color, and as we've seen previously, that one color needs to be black. Pick one color and stick to it. You can always go back and add more colors when you relaunch a successful design, but the danger is if we start to add too many colors, it will overwhelm people. So, one color and make it black. And you can see that quite clearly on this screenshot here. The next question was, what price do we sell at? What we found was that $20 is the sweet spot and the safest bet for t-shirts. In fact, 50% of the best sellers were priced between $19 and $21, and 30% are either $19.95 or $20. That being said, a couple of things to kind of be aware of here. Firstly, the goals with these campaigns tended to be quite high, and the reason I bring this up is if you price your T-shirt at $20, and and you're only making, let's say, $9 per T-shirt, but you sell 200 of them, well, Teespring will bump your margin up. So if we go back over to here, and if you can just keep your eye on this number, which is our profit per sale. If I go up and I increase this number from 50 to 200, you'll see that our profit per sale increases. So even at $20, we're going to be making almost $12 at 200 sales. If we increase that to 1,000, we're going to be making, $12.50 per sale. And so just be aware of that, the fact that, these guys have very often get high goals. So you can just see the goal number here. These goals are larger than what the average Teespringer would normally launch at. We normally recommend you launch at 20 goal rather than, certainly not 1,000 or 250 or whatever. So that might potentially pull the number down slightly, and mean that, maybe these guys are selling slightly lower for that reason. Also remember that we're not looking to sell 10,000 units. We want to sell maybe 50, maybe 100, maybe a couple of hundred t-shirts. So we're selling to a much more targeted, more refined audience. So these guys will pay more. They might pay up to 23, even 24, possibly even $25, because we're not selling something that's kind of mass market. We're selling something very, very targeted. That only maybe 100, 200, 300 people will want, but those 100, 200, 300 people will definitely want. And so it's a little less maybe price elastic than some of these mass market campaigns that we're looking at. So feel free to kind of stray a little bit from the data and go up to maybe $23 if it's multiple colors, just to keep your margins high. But as you know, I still like to stick around that $20, $19, $20 mark if it's just maybe white color on a black tee. But overall, you can see that $20 should be our starting point in general. So here's the beautiful graph. I know that there's just so much data here that it's like, what on earth is going on? I did think about simplifying this, but I thought I'd just leave it as it is since I've broken down the data. You can basically see that this is $19.95 here, $19.99 and $20, and you can see that they account for over 30% basically, or give or take about 32-33% of the sales. This is $27, $21, $16. So you can kind of get a good feel there for basically what I'm saying, which is that most of the sales are clustered around that $20 mark. The next question is, what default style should we go for, tee or hoodie? So when you've got your design set up on Teespring, you've got several options. You upload your design, you can choose the colors, and we've already kind of talked about the idea that you want to go with black. But the next question is, what style do you go for? And these are basically the styles here. So do you choose a Hanes tagless tee? Do you choose a hoodie? Do you choose a tank top? What should be, the main style? And remember, we've always got the option of adding additional styles later on, which we can do over here on the second page. But on the first page, what should our default style be? And the answer is that basically it should be a Hanes tagless tee, which is the default one that Teespring gives you anyway. So actually, a Hanes tagless tee is 44% of sales, and that's a good thing because it's got the lowest base cost. You can see it's this one here. It's got the lowest base cost, and so it's got the highest margin for us. So it's kind of a unisex tee. Men can wear it, women can wear it. Really, it's only very kind of petite women who might want the smaller kind of more fitted women's tee, but predominantly any women who are anything other than very young and petite will generally want a more unisex tee. The margins on it are good, and it kind of looks generic. It's not really going to put anyone off as such. And remember, people will buy your t-shirt because of the design and not so much the actual t-shirt itself, which is kind of what we see here, which is good. Also, the Hanes hoodie has got 14% of sales, and the American Apparel crew has got 13%. So this is our Hanes tagless tee, this is our Hanes hoodie, and this is the American Apparel crew. But you can see that really, for our default, it should really be the Hanes tagless tee, which is 44% of sales. So start with the Hanes tagless tee unless you have an incredibly good reason. So this is the one that we've got. We want it in black, and we want to start off with this, and this is basically what Teespring will give you by default anyway. Next question, how many styles do you offer? So do we give them one style? Do we give them 5 styles? So remember that we should only give them one color choice, which is black. So we don't want to give them lots of colors. We don't want to say you can choose black, or you can have blue, or you can have orange, because it's going to kind of overwhelm them and give them this decision paralysis, which is something we want to avoid. We want them to either buy or get off the page, basically. However, with the number of styles, it's slightly less clear cut, so we don't see this clear statistical, definite answer, basically. What we actually see when we look at how many styles we should offer is that 30% offer one style, 11% two, 19% three, and 20% four. Pretty much anywhere within one style up to 5 styles is kind of cool. And by the way, what I mean by this is once we've chosen our default, which should be basic Hanes tagless tee, we've also got the option on the second page of adding additional styles, and this is what I'm referring to here. Do we just add this one and we don't add any others, or do we also add maybe a hoodie? Do we also add like maybe a tank top? Do we also add maybe a V-neck or whatever? And the answer based on this data here is, well, yes, we can actually add multiple styles, and it's not going to cause a ton of problems. So it seems like 3 to 4 styles is kind of the sweet spot. So 19 plus 20% is 39%. So it seems like that's kind of around the sweet spot. But to be completely honest, you can add really anywhere from 1 to kind of 4, I would say. So have your main style and then add maybe a hoodie and also a long sleeve tee or a woman's tee. I think that's probably a good kind of option. Of course, remember to make Hanes tagless tee, which is the black one, the default. Next question, the title and description. And remember, this is something else that I had my virtual assistant go through and categorize. You can see we've got the title over here, which is this column. And we also have the description, which is here. So you can just see it just at the top there. Okay. So basically, I went through all of the titles and descriptions and built them into a keyword cloud, which is basically a way of visualizing the most commonly used words. And this is a very quick and easy way to understand the psychology of a Teespring buyer. What kind of words do we have to put in the title or the description to get them to buy? And there was a few things that jumped out. The first thing was that limited edition appears way more than anything else, in particular in the title. And this makes sense. You know, these TeeSpring campaigns only run for a limited amount of time. They only target a very limited audience, especially if you run Facebook ads like we do. And so it's kind of this, one-off scarcity kind of event where you have to take action and you have to buy now. It's only around for 7 days. It's not going to be reprinted. It's not available in stores. And so it kind of gets people to, jump at the bit and really, buy because they feel that they've got to, otherwise they're going to miss out on this limited thing. So for that reason, I recommend that you include a limited edition in the title and also in the description as well. So if it's like a nursing tee, then you could put like, limited edition nurse t-shirt. Also mention it in the description as well. The other thing was that some words seem to relate to Teespring, which suggests that perhaps it's important that we kind of coach some people into Teespring, explain how it works, give them, you'll see this as well in a lot of successful campaigns, they'll put the Teespring customer support number down. That can be important, especially for maybe people who are of an older generation who aren't as aware of Teespring and aren't as trustworthy about putting a credit card number just into a faceless internet website. They want to actually call someone up and speak to them. So you can see that I did several different graphs here, several keyword clouds, and this I thought was the most simple one. You can see that limited edition is kind of the biggest thing, shirt of course, which makes sense, but you can also see some of the other words here. Some are kind of call to action words, so buy is obviously a big one as well. Going back to what I was saying about people being concerned about customer support and trust, help, support, these are both important words. Campaign, available, a lot of these words, click, another call to action word. A lot of these words either relate to Teespring or relate to the general kind of action that we want people to take, I suppose. So there's several different things that we could take from that, but I'd say the key thing really is that we want to include limited edition in within the title and also within the description, and also just be aware of the fact that that scarcity and the fact that the campaign is only running for a limited amount of time is a key trigger and a key reason that people buy. So just to recap, what we learned from over 400,000 sales worth of data, well firstly we learned that black is the best default colour. In fact 56% of bestsellers do this. So if we don't do it, we need to have a good reason not to do it. We also learned that we should only offer one colour choice. 66% of bestsellers only allow for one colour choice, and as we've said, that should be black. And the logic there is that if you give lots and lots of colours, it's going to overwhelm people. It's going to play with the design too much, and they're going to get confused and just kind of give up. We also found that $20, give or take $19 to $21, is the sweet spot, but we also know that these are top selling campaigns that target a mass market, and because our t-shirts are maybe a little bit more niche, a little bit more focused and targeted, our buyers will potentially pay a bit more, especially if there are multiple colours involved, which is important because multiple colours pushes our margins down. So we can try up to maybe $23 or $24 if we need to, but ideally we want to keep around that $20 spot. We also saw that Hanes tagless tee is the best style. 44% of bestsellers do this. You can also offer additional styles. We saw that that wasn't a major clear sort of issue either way. We can offer between 1 and 5 styles. Probably 3 to 4 is kind of the best range. So put our black Hanes default tagless tee there as the default option. They maybe also provide the option to choose a hoodie, possibly a v-neck, possibly a tank top, possibly a woman's tee, depending on the market you're going after. So we've got a bit of flexibility with that one. And then finally we saw that limited edition was the most commonly used phrase or words within the title and description, and so we want to, if possible, include limited edition in our own title, probably in the description, and also just be aware of the fact that this scarcity angle, this fact that campaigns only do run for a limited amount of time, is a key part of why people buy these t-shirts. So hopefully this data was useful. No one else has got access to this. I'm the only one that pulled the data up, got my VA to do this, and plotted all these graphs and then basically presented to you exactly what 400,000 sales of t-shirts can actually tell us definitively about what the best things are. So a lot of this stuff was in T-Titan anyway, but I just wanted to do this video just to show you some of the thought and data and proof really which has gone into building the T-Titan system. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you in the next one.